Hi guys, it's Chris from chriscar.com, and I have a very special guest today. My dear friend Kate Northrup is here.
Hi.
Welcome, Kate.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to talk about her new book, which is really wonderful. It's called Money, a Love Story: Untangle Your Financial Woes and Create the Life You Really Want. And Kate is also going to give us 5 tips for having a joyful relationship with money. I had the privilege of reading your book earlier in the year. You sent me this copy, Money. And I really appreciate that you sent it. I think you made it at Kinko's.
I did.
Okay, thank you, Kinko's. And I started to read it, and what struck me the most was how powerful this tool is to help folks heal their relationship to any of the pain they have surrounding money, any of the old baggage they have, but also self-worth and value. And I did all of your exercises and really felt a big lift after reading your book. So. Cool. Thank you for making it.
You're so welcome.
For writing it. And I just want to start by asking you, because I think it's a great title, Money, a Love Story. How did that happen?
Well, the first chapter of the book was originally called Me and Money, a Love Story, because as I was, and I don't know if you feel this way when you write, but I don't actually remember writing it. So at some point I wrote it, and
it's like childbirth. You don't remember
there was this chapter, and I wrote about my own journey with money. And as I was writing it, I realized there were a lot of ups and downs. There were a lot of moments that were quite similar to a love story. And then my agent said, "Why don't you call the whole book Money, a Love Story?" So
I love that, because most people do not have, or what they perceive to be, a love story around money. And obviously you said something earlier which I loved when we were preparing to shoot. You were talking about the health connections to our money and stress around money. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah. So in my research, I found that the #1 cause of stress is actually financial upheaval and discomfort. And as we know, stress is an indicating factor for rates of depression, heart disease, cancer, and a lot of other illness in the body. And so when we pay attention to our financial lives and heal that relationship, it's actually a great step towards preventative health and healing our physical body.
I know all of my viewers really need to hear that. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Tell me a bit about your money love story.
Well, so I started a business when I was 18 in the network marketing industry with a vitamin company. And that was going really well. I built it for 4 years, and I was able to graduate from college without having to get a regular job. And that was awesome. So I moved to New York City, and I promptly got myself into quite a bit of debt, and to the tune of over $20,000. And that was unfortunate. And it really weighed on me emotionally. But despite my best efforts, I couldn't do anything about it. I just kept putting my bills in a drawer. I just kept spending money.
You checked out.
I checked out. It's just totally unconscious. And but it began to feel, I began to get a friction between kind of this public persona as a successful entrepreneur and the behind the scenes reality that I knew that I was not taking care of my financial house.
Gotcha.
And that tension, it's like a rubber band. It really felt like it was about to snap. So I was on a plane one day, journaling, one of my favorite things to do. I know you do a lot of journaling.
Yes.
I was having a chat with myself via paper, and I realized my financial unconsciousness and mess, basically, was connected to a lack of self-care, a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-value, self-love. All those things are pretty much the same. And for the first time, when I connected those two things, I was able to make lasting change. I tried so many different programs, so many different things, and I would not stick with them. And within a couple years of me having that realization and connecting self-worth and financial self-care and knowing that I could do the financial piece from a place of love, I was able to pay off all my debt, double my income, double my savings, and things really looked up in a huge way.
It makes so much sense, because I find that it's easy to connect those dots when it comes to our health. Yeah. So like, let's say you're pouring your pain or your suffering or whatever it is into alcohol, into cookies, into cigarettes, and then you start to shift and you work on the relationship with yourself, which is a lot of what I talk about and has been a very key part of my healing journey. You start to love yourself more, feel better about yourself, and those things naturally start to drop off, or you have better tools to deal with them. But I've never made the connection between those feelings of stuffing and suffering and how I could heal the relationship with money. That it's very similar to other addictions.
Yeah, and it turns out that self-love is the cure for anything that ails you.
You know I like that, girl. Okay, so let's talk about these top 5 tips for having a joyful, which makes me go, relaxed relationship with money.
Yeah, great. So the number 1 tip is to create some sort of mindfulness exercise around getting into gratitude for the ways your life is abundant right now, because what we put our attention on grows. So if we want to create more abundance and a more loving relationship with money, we have to appreciate and enjoy and notice the ways that our life is abundant right now. And it doesn't just have to be your bank account balance, although I do recommend incorporating checking that daily and giving some gratitude as you check it for what you have. And
even if it's $1.
Even if it's $1, even if it's negative. I actually started my daily checking of my bank account balance. Some days mine was in the negative, because sometimes you're in overdraft. And that was, you know, back in the day. Luckily those days have ended. But having that gratitude for the ways your life is abundant, the beautiful friends you have, the amazing peach that you just bit into that's dripping down your chin, beautiful nature, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be financial abundance, but all abundance is kind of made of the same stuff.
Spiritual abundance. Very good stuff. Shifting your mind, rewiring it. Let's go to number 2. I love this one. Spend in accordance with your values. What do you mean by that?
So money is a stand-in for what we value. Human beings made up money. It doesn't actually exist. It's just
paper?
It's paper, it's plastic. It's just like, it's not a thing. And so it's just, I know, it's just a stand-in for what we value. And so in order to get our finances lined up and kind of like wired in the way they need to be, we need to spend money on what we value. And what I've found is that most of the time when your spending is out of alignment with your values, like you're spending money on what your mom thinks you should have, you're trying to look a certain way, which is how I got myself into my financial pickle. I really wanted to look perfect.
Trying to make somebody like you.
Trying to make somebody like you, going with the cultural standards of what you should be doing, like, oh, now I'm 30, I should be buying a house, you know, those sorts of things. That leads to financial havoc versus identifying, hey, you know what, my values are health, relationships, and adventure. And so taking your money and directing it towards those values gives you way more emotional bang for your buck when you spend that money than spending money on like some stupid dinner out that you don't even like the people you're with, for example.
I think there's a cricket who's really appreciating your value and everything you're bringing to the table today.
Thank you.
Thank you, cricket. I love point 3, start a money for me account.
So when I first got myself into my financial pickle in my early 20s, it was because spending money felt more abundant and way more fun than saving money. So I needed to put into practice something that would make saving money feel as good, if not better, than spending it. So a financial advisor suggested this idea of a money for me account. So every time I negotiated a lower rate on an insurance plan, I asked for a fee to be removed on my credit card, I went shopping and decided not to buy something, I took that money and put it in my money for me account, which felt really abundant because I was paying myself instead of paying Nordstrom or whatever. And you can do that same thing if you have a regular ongoing expense. Like my girlfriend had a son who was in daycare, but then he switched over to kindergarten, which was free. She took that money that she was spending on daycare and captured it and put it in her money for me account, because if you don't pay attention to those things, they just get lost in your family's finances, never to be seen again. But this is a way of capturing it and paying yourself, and then that adds up and you can use it towards paying off debt, saving up for something like a home or a vacation, whatever you want.
Number 4, watch your words.
This one's really powerful. You know, you talk about the power of words, our thoughts, beliefs. You guys are obviously aware of that. And money is one of the biggest areas of stinkin' thinking that there is, because there is such a cultural pull towards lack. And especially judgment around people who have money. Because we have a tendency, when somebody has something that we want, we can judge them for it. So instead of feeling the discomfort of, oh, they have that and I want it, it feels easier to beat them up about it or to make them wrong. So what we want to do is notice, for example, instead of saying, I can't afford that, you can replace that with, I'm choosing not to buy that right now, which feels so awesome. As opposed to being victim-y. Like, I can't, or, you know, life is doing it to me. It's, you know what? I am choosing not to go on that trip, and instead I'm choosing to put that money towards a down payment on a home, paying off my debt, whatever it feels like. I am in the driver's seat. So that's a really important thing, as well as watching our judgments around people who have money, because if you're judgmental of people who have money, you will never subconsciously allow yourself to attract that, because why would your subconscious mind allow you to attract something that you judge in other people?
Yeah, and sometimes it just makes you seem kind of like a jerk.
There's that. You know, plain and simple.
And everybody works hard, well, for the most part. Number 5, value yourself. I love that one.
You know, you could throw out the rest of them and just do this one. And it turns out that this one helps everything. So it's not just about money, but specifically for your money journey, money is just a stand-in for what we value. We receive, we earn money in accordance to the value we provide in the world. And so our ability to provide value in the world increases, and the volume of it gets turned up when we value ourselves. So when I say and realize, you know, I have something to offer here, I then speak up. My creativity flows better, and I'm able to show up in a better way, help other people out, and then as a result, receive value in exchange. And sometimes that's financial value, and sometimes it's other types of value, and all of that counts as abundance.
I love that you're doing this work and that you're helping people, because there's so much shame and embarrassment and guilt and fear around this topic. And the fact that you're out there, and Money, a Love Story is out there, makes me very happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. So katenorthrup.com, right? For all things Kate Northrup and Money, a Love Story.
Yes.
And we love you. I love you. Kate loves you.
I love you.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.